Hi all. Hope you guys have written answer to today's questions. And as you guys know that we are nearing a first month of having started this initiative. Hope this initiative has benefited you in some ways. And if it has, please share it among your fellow aspirants, especially for those who have just started preparing for means answer writing. It will be very beneficial for them. And if you guys would have written today's answer and got it in evaluated from CollectorBabu for free, if you have got it this evaluation done for free on CollectorBabu, then please proceed and listen to this video. If not, take a break. First, write down your question, get it evaluated, and then watch this video as to how to approach this question and what else could we have added? You guys can compare your answer from the model answer as well. But if you want to attend this session so as to be able to better understand how to break down the question in parts which will be easy to address, then please bear with me and become a part of this initiative. So I'll be sharing my screen and I'll be sharing the questions that we had discussed. Okay. Hopefully, we all get benefited in one way or the other. Let us begin. As you guys know that governance itself is a very important component of GS2, especially in the recent days. We have observed that a lot of polity questions, especially related to urban local bodies or the rural local bodies, even president's rule, etc., is in a very much way intertwined with governance concepts. So, when you will see the question today, you will see some of those are related to scheme, for example, direct benefit transfer scheme, while some of the other are also very much related to polity concepts. Okay, let us begin. So, let us read the question. Reforming the government delivery system through direct benefit transfer is a progressive step, but it has limitations too. Comment. When we break down the question, what do we understand? We understand that A, you have to give a clear definition of what is direct benefit transfer. B, you have to, in a way, highlight how direct benefit transfer has helped in reforming government delivery system. Okay. Then 3, you'll talk about the limitations because it is clearly mentioned in the question. 4th, you will talk about what will we talk about? We will talk about way forward. And 5th, we'll be ending it with a conclusion. Okay. So the definition is very simple. The aim is to eliminate inefficiency and corruption, where the benefit is directly delivered in forms of subsidy or other benefit to beneficiary's bank account. Hopefully, we understand what it is the question is asking. Okay, so we'll talk about the merits of DBT. There's another way to actually frame the heading, which is to actually talk about reforms brought about by DBT in the government delivery system. This you can write here. Reforms brought about by DBT in the government delivery system. Okay, which is actually a good way to use the words that are actually used in the questions. When you're trying to frame subheadings, it would be highly advisable to use the same words. Okay, so let us begin. What will we talk about? We'll talk about the merits, which is promoting efficiency and promoting transparency. Okay, we can talk about PEHL of LPG subsidy. Okay, we'll talk about reduction in corruption, how Manrega, PDS, etc., through geo tagging, etc., are some of the other initiative that was taken. But especially through Aadhaar linked payment system, there has been reduction in corruption. We'll talk about empowerment of beneficiary, how it has enhanced physical inclusion, financial inclusion, and empowered rural household, and also simplification of the system through Aadhaar Trinity, and also empowering India's tax system. Okay, so now we'll come to the main crux of the question, which is talking about limitations. So, firstly, it will be about the digital divide, as we know about internet access and degree to which telephonic penetration is different in rural versus urban area. You'll get data regarding digital divide from Digital India report. You can quote the latest data which you have. Okay. Then we'll talk about exclusion errors. For example, how due to exclusion error in especially in PDS, poor people are not able to get the benefits. Okay. Dependence on banking networks. Okay. How poor penetration of banking services in remote area. Okay. You can also talk about how just to get their money which is deposited in the bank account, they have to travel to urban areas, people who live in village areas, the daily wage laborers, etc., and stand in queues in banks, which hinder their work, and it also result in loss of pay because on that day they won't be working. Then we'll talk about dependence on banking networks, accountability issue, like there are delays in complaints, etc. We'll talk about how the delays in complaints, etc., how they are not acted upon, poor grievance redressal system, etc. The people do not know what to do in case of duplication or what to do in case of not receiving the said amount. Okay. We'll talk about payment failure, pending KYC, frozen account, etc. So there are also this emerging trend of actually the issue in DBT. If you guys might have followed the news, few days ago there were news about how Delhi police has nabbed certain people involved in terror financing and funding who were actually beneficiary of PM Kisan. So you can actually talk about how the beneficiary, they themselves divert the money for different use for illegal purposes. Okay. And getting benefit in cash and not in kind would actually in a way not result in the intended benefit of empowering. So in way forward you can also suggest about, other than correcting the present system, also talk about the coupon system giving to the beneficiaries, etc. So we'll talk about way forward, strengthening digital and financial infrastructure, periodic database audit, etc. We'll talk about Shanta Kumar Committee and its agenda of improving PDS integration with DBT should be adopted. Okay. Now, there's the second type of question that I talked about, which is how the polity concept and the governance concept is intertwined. And you need to have knowledge of both to answer this question. So, let's understand. Account for legal and political factors responsible for reduced frequency of Article 356 by the Union government since mid 1990s. Simple question. Let's break it down. First, you'll talk about Article 356. Second, you'll account for legal factors. Third, you'll talk about political factors. Fourth, you can give a way forward or a comparison, anything. And fifth, you will just conclude your answer. For this question, I'll suggest, because it has been explicitly written about reduced frequency. If you guys have data, you can actually make a chart. Um, Let me annotate my screen. Yep. You can actually, yes, you can make a chart giving like number of invocation of 356. You can talk about year like 2000. You can talk about 2005, 2010, and you can show in graph if you have your numbers how it has been in decreasing. Okay. This will be beneficial in your answer writing. Okay. Let us see. What more can we write in this? We'll talk about 356, referred to as President's Rule. allows union to take over on state governance in case of constitutional breakdown. Its use was frequent during the pre-1990s era. Its application has marked decline since then due to several legal and political factors. You'll talk about legal factor. The most important one is SR Bommai case, okay, which will write clearly. Then you'll write about some judicial oversight as well. For example, Rameshwar Prasad versus Union of India. You can also give a more recent example about how the Uttarakhand Uttarakhand invocation of Article 356 was revoked. You can give that case as well. Give political factors. How coalition politics has been an important factor, especially since 1990, important factor in reducing the use of Article 356 because the center is dependent on regional party for stability of the government. Then you'll talk about decentralization and federalism through 73rd and 74th Amendment Act. You'll talk about political cost. Misuse could invite criticism and backlash. And because we live in a democratic system, next time when the voters cast their vote, it will reflect poorly on the choice made by the center. Then you'll talk about consensus driven approach, focus on interstate council, recommendations by various committees, Sarkarya, etc., on reducing arbitrary invocation of Article 356. Okay, the reduced invocation of Article 356 reflects that India is a mature democracy guided by accountability and cooperative federalism. A very simple way to conclude this answer. So, last question for today, 150 words question, just 2 pages. And let us delve how we'll be writing this question. To what extent, in your opinion, has the decentralization of power in India changed the governance landscape at the grassroots? So, through decentralization of power, what exactly is being asked? If we are able to decipher the question, we'll be able to write it. It's asking about the local bodies. Okay, so we'll talk about 73rd and 74th Amendment, constitutional amendment. Now, we'll talk about to what extent has it empowered and changed the governance landscape. Okay, so what will you write? You'll write about the positive impacts of decentralization, the amendments, 73rd and 74th Amendment. Okay, that is one part. What will be the second part? To what extent? Then you'll also have to bring out some challenges as to why and what are those challenges that has not resulted in complete overhaul of governance landscape or bringing a positive change there. There are some challenges. Let us break this question down again, because on the face of it, it may not be very simple to understand what is being asked. Okay, it is talking about decentralization. Okay, and in decentralization, what about 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, because that is what the decentralization was all about. Okay, now you'll talk about how to what extent has it changed the governance landscape. So you'll talk about the positive changes it has brought. Okay, then what will you write? You'll write about the challenges that still is faced in complete decentralization. Okay, then we will conclude. So let us begin. The introduction will be the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment marked a paradigm shift in India's governance by institutionalizing decentralization and empowering local communities. You can write any other introduction, but 74th and 73rd should be mentioned there. Now you'll talk about positive impact. Obviously, empowerment of local bodies, how women leadership has emerged. Okay, you'll talk about Gram Sabha taking major decision, especially regarding allotment of allocation of minor minerals, about minor water bodies, or providing basic amenities to the villagers. Okay, We'll talk about participatory governance here, Gram Sabha, and talking about Gram Swaraj initiative, etc., will be very important, and how it has actually resulted in promoting direct democracy. Okay, we'll talk about this, promoting direct democracy and accountability. You'll talk about improved service delivery. Now you'll talk about Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, urban program like Amrut, etc. And you will talk about innovation in governance, okay, like district planning committee. See, in one of the previous sessions also, I had suggested you this approach. If you guys would have followed it, it would have actually benefited you while writing this answer, which was, as soon as you hear the word governance and good governance in any answer, in any question, you immediately get a framework how to approach the answer. You can write positive impact whatever you want, but in the pressure of exam, it will not be possible to actually be generating some new points. But if you have certain model, for example, in this case, it is CLAPTERE, which is consensus orientation, which is following rule of law, which is transparency, which is responsiveness, which is accountability. Immediately you get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. You don't even need to write that much, but that will become your subheading, and then you can actually write points under those heads and give example and data whichever you have on with you. Okay, that is one of the approach, and that is highly suggested. This is something you can do, but this only you will be able to do if you have a lot of time. You won't be having a lot of time there, so please just try to learn the 8 pillars of good governance, and whenever the term governance is used to frame subpoints, use those points. Okay, so we'll talk about challenges in decentralization, limited financial autonomy, capacity constraint, political interference. Okay, and then we'll talk about inequities in implementation. You can actually generate more points, and the more you read, the better example you will get about it. But for that, you have to start writing. And what better a chance to start writing than to start writing now? And what better way to get it evaluated than to get evaluated it quickly? You can get it done on CollectorBabu. So you can just write way forward to strengthen financial devolution. You can talk about various committee which were actually formulated for decentralization, for empowering decentralization, for effecting decentralization, mandatory social audits and accountability. Okay, so this way we have completed governance question for today. And when next time we'll meet, I'll be taking up IR questions for the polity session. But our next session will be on economy, and it will be on internal security. Okay. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the session, and please try to write answers. It will be beneficial for you, and take care. Goodbye.